pretty strong pulse on the SEC sports world, and I'm maybe you're hearing things I'm not hearing. I almost feel like this conversation, you're almost defending Jalen in a sense that there's a strong percentage of people out there chanting for Tua. I'm just saying I'm not hearing it. I'm not disagreeing with your reasons why Jalen should play, because I think he should play. I agree with you. I just don't think that there's that many. There's probably some. I just don't think there's that many people really banging the drum for Tua Tagovailoa to start over Jalen Hurts. I'm just not seeing it. We do have a few texts come in. One person says, I've heard that Tua has struggled in camp. Is that true? Stephen, I'll give you that, but give me just a second. Another text says, I've heard numerous people say this was a real quarterback battle. A few weeks ago, it was talked about quite a bit. It seems to have died down. Well, once again, for me, I just haven't heard that. And I every night of my life, I keep up. I read things. I watch video clips. I keep a pretty tight eye. Now, I'm not in Tuscaloosa, but I just don't hear. I hear a lot of people saying this Tua kid could be special, but I'm not hearing a lot of people say this Tua kid should start over Jalen Hurts. Right now, we'll go to the phone lines and take a call. You're on the way it is. Who are we talking with?
Hey, man, it's JJ.
Hey, what's happening, JJ?
Hey, man, sounds like you're playing Hurts today, brother.
Yeah, a little bit of I got a real sore throat, but we're fighting through it, man. Got some meds and we're ready to go.
All right,
what's
man.
going on, JJ?
Hey, what's going on, Steven? Hey,
doing
listen,
good.
Hey, man. Hey, listen, Hurts is a starter. There's no doubt about that. But, until he gets out there and shows improvement this season, there's always going to be those critics about him because, like you said, the way those last few games ended and the last visual we have of him really is those performances in those games. And until he gets out there and shows it, there's going to be, some people that are just going to they're not going to believe it till they see it. Now, do I think he's improved? Yeah, I think he's improved. And the reason why I think he's improved, Nick Saban said he's improved. If Nick Saban says he's gotten better at throwing the football, that's good enough for me. And Matt's right. The guy's got to get better. There's no question. Is he a great athlete? Yes, he is. But he has got to get better in the passing game. And if Saban says he has, then I have to believe that he has. Now, does he have to be Peyton Manning? No, he don't. He doesn't have to be a prolific passer. He's got to be good enough. I mean, there was a time when Tim Tebow was raked over the coals a bunch of times because, people criticized his throwing motion, his mechanics, and everything when he was at Florida. But he got better. He become an effective passer, and he became more of a well-rounded quarterback. And I think that's what you'll see out of Hurts. And he's going to get a shot to prove it. And, hey, like I said, if the head coach says you got better, he's gotten better.
Well, JJ, as always, buddy, we appreciate the call, man. Thanks for listening in, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Stephen, I want to give it to you here. I took that call, but the first text said, I've heard that Tua has struggled in camp. Is that true? You tell me. Once again, I haven't heard that, but you're down there in Tuscaloosa. Has Tua struggled in camp, Stephen?
In the first scrimmage, it was reported in the first scrimmage that he had a couple of interceptions thrown. I know in the second scrimmage, did make a lot of improvement, did progress well. When you look at Tua, at times to me, when he rolls out and throws the football, he has a strong arm. At times, a little bit too confident in his arm, but you see the arm strength, you see the ability, you see the potential. You definitely see the potential. In the first scrimmage, had a couple of picks, two of them by linebacker Rashaan Evans, Terrell Lewis, had a pick off him as well. So the first scrimmage was a bit of a test one for him, but the second one, Tua made some explosive plays according to Saban and really progressed in that second exhibition despite the rain and a 22-minute lightning delay.
Let's go to the phone lines again. You're live on the way it is.
Hey, this is Bo from Birmingham.
Hey, Bama Bo.
How we doing, girl?
Hey, I really enjoy this show, by the way. I really do. So glad to have something to listen to. Hey, I just wanted to chime in on this Jalen. I've always been a Jalen fan. But I think that one thing that wasn't mentioned a while ago, I feel like you got to put some of this on Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin sort of checked out by about midseason last year. I kind of feel a little bit like, I just wanted to throw that out there and let y'all talk about it. I feel like a little bit of this has got to be on him. I think this kid's got tremendous upside. But that's just my take, guys, and I'll hang up and let y'all respond to that. So y'all have a great day.
Bama Bo, thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you.
All right. You know, I'll start there, Stephen. I don't think Lane checked out probably until the postseason, until he got the Florida Atlantic job. So I think maybe the Washington game a little bit. But here's the thing: when I picked LSU to beat Alabama, and I was wrong, but the reason I did is I said I don't think Jalen throws the ball downfield well enough to beat LSU. And he didn't. LSU just could not get 1 point. And I realized I saw some things that he was doing that were making mistakes. And I'm going to go into another text we have because it's going to go to my point here. And that text says, if we won the championship, do you think people would be as critical of Jalen? He was one of the most dynamic players last year. Well, I think you can be critical of somebody and still recognize their greatness. I don't like to play games of extreme. You're either really good or you really suck. I don't do that. I think Jalen's upside's incredible. I think Jalen's a really good player. But one thing I said last year was, and by the way, I missed a couple. I picked Tennessee to beat Bama. I was wrong. I picked LSU. I was wrong. And I picked Clemson, and I was right, and probably should have been wrong on that one. But one thing I said Jalen Hurts, and I noticed the latter half of the year, and we mentioned some of those games. I said when you beat Florida 65-24, nobody's going to realize Jalen Hurts didn't play well because you just won the damn game 65-24. So that's what you're going to remember. They just beat another team by 40-some points in the SEC championship game. Washington did not have the horses to block Alabama. Physically, they were outmatched, and they eventually just pounded them to the ground and won 24-7. But Jalen didn't play well, 13-31. And so for me, Stephen, I saw some weaknesses in a young true freshman. He's a young true freshman. His upside's incredible. There's no doubt he is the starter this year. I'll take Jalen Hurts on my team any day of the week. I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. But I still noticed some struggles in his game. He was not accurate with the ball down the field a lot last season. And when you're winning games by 30 and 40 points, it's hard to find a problem. When you're dominating games, people don't find the problem because you're winning and you're winning easily. So you remember the good things. Well, Bama didn't have a very good defense, which they did, but if they didn't, and Jalen made great plays but yet made these same mistakes and they lost games, you would have criticized that. So I think the way oftentimes media scrutiny works, if you win, you get to cover up your mistakes more. If you lose, you expose every mistake and forget that some people did good things. So for me, when I look at Jalen Hurts, I saw a very good player. I saw a guy that can become a great player. I still saw a young kid that has to improve. And I noticed things, and you guys may not have been listening to me in the early mornings at that time, but I said it then. I could probably go find it if I dug deep enough in the archives when I said I'm seeing mistakes. And I was saying it before they lost to Clemson. But when you're winning that easily, then those mistakes do not get exploited. When you lose, they do get exploited. But at the end of the day, I still think that more people, I listen to a lot, are higher on Jalen Hurts than they are lower on Jalen Hurts. I think more people see the ceiling of Jalen Hurts than they do the floor of Jalen Hurts, and I'm one of them. I think the kid's going to be an incredible player, possibly a Heisman Trophy winner. I don't know if he'll be able to throw it as much in Alabama's new system, but this guy is something special. But just because you're special doesn't mean that somebody can't find where you're not doing things wrong, because if you just think you're great at everything, there's no room for improvement. Jalen is a great player, but there's obvious room for improvement, and those last three games showed it.
I love how you and I, Matt, can have these debates and still remain cordial with each other. Now, I'm going to ask you this right here. I know Bama Ball brought up a great topic about Lane Kiffin. Prior to Jalen Hurts, when he had Blake Sims and Jacob Coker, these two guys were seniors, you could possibly get away with having that one read type of an offense and just go with one read. If the one read's not there, then do what you want to with the football. But do you feel like Kiffin should have at least been more so hands-on with Jalen, seeing how he's a freshman and you got to develop. You can't just rely on that run read, because when you're coming out of high school, if read number one is not there, you're immediately pulling down the ball and going with it. Should he have been more hands-on with Jalen and letting him know, okay, if read one's not there, take your eyes, move here, 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 because he didn't do that a lot at all with Coker or Sams.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I just don't have an answer to that. I saw problems in both Coker and Sims. I thought Sims didn't make good progressions, and he paid for it in that Auburn game, but they just kept scoring on Auburn, and he bounced back in that game, but he didn't play well. He played well in the second half, but he threw, 3 picks? And then Ohio State game, he threw a handful of picks, and Coker, he had games I thought were rough too. Obviously, some of them were early. So I don't know. I don't know. I think as a true freshman, what Jalen did, there's more positives than negatives. You can always go back and say, maybe I could have done this. But, I think Lane's a good coach, and I agree with Bama Bo that he checked out. I just think that Bama Bo thinks he checked out earlier than I did. I thought once he took the Florida Atlantic job, he was probably halfway to Boca Raton, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as a whole, if you look at what Jalen Hurts did last year, Stephen, I still think there's more positive than a lot more positive than negative. And for me, I can't criticize a whole lot. I'm just saying I think he's got to find ways to get better. Let's go to the phone lines. You're live on The Way It Is. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was wondering